Everybody, MegaRuler31 back here, joined with McKinley. We are going to kick off another baseball season for MLB for FSIDFS. Seemed like it was such a short off season. We've been actually playing spring training together since mid-March, and I think we've learned a lot. I had some success there. But we're looking forward to some real games tomorrow, even though two of them have already been cut off the slate due to weather, and there's another one that potentially could be an issue. But how was your time off, McKinley? Playing a lot of hockey, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My off season was spent just tracking the NHL daily. I've been following the baseball, obviously, lots of crazy trades. Well, not trades, but just like moves, free agency wise. So a lot of big name stars in some new uniforms this season. So with the shortened spring training, though, it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out. I think it's going to affect the pitchers a little bit in their first couple of starts. Obviously, they're not fully warmed up to go 100 pitches and beyond. So you could see some shortened arms there. As far as the bats go, we'll see. Should be interesting as always, and just excited that opening day is finally here.
So one note, there's different lock times. So we'll primarily in these videos be covering DraftKings, but sometimes we'll make mention of FanDuel. And the only real note that we have for FanDuel is that they include a game that DraftKings dropped. They didn't have the New York-Boston game, but that one's canceled, so it doesn't matter. But they do have the Milwaukee game against the Chicago Cubs. It's played in Chicago. The wind's blowing out 20 miles per hour, but it's going to be like 55 degrees. And I think they have one of the best pitchers going there in Burns, who actually is kind of stretched out and could potentially go 85 pitches and has a lot of K upside. So FanDuel, I think you definitely want to lock him in and cash as your starting pitcher there. But unfortunately, unless you're playing Showdown, he's not going to be on DK. So anything else stick out for that game for you, McKinley?
Not too much. I mean, obviously, last season Chicago was a huge strikeout team. So Corbin Burns obviously is your lock there. But Chicago, their big splash of the offseason was Seiya Suzuki, guy from Japan. So he has big power in his bat, lots of home runs over there. So is it going to translate over here? Is it going to translate to Wrigley Field? It remains to be seen, but he's definitely he was the big splash that Chicago made during the offseason. So keep an eye on him, where he's going to be in the lineup. And just the power that he can bring, especially if the wind is blowing out.
Yeah, big Mike Trout fan too. So he took his number and everything. So it should be exciting there. So 6 games left on the slate. We are a little bit concerned about the Mets in Washington with all the rain and everything on the East Coast. Some wind there. It's gonna be like 92 degrees in LA and sunny and a cloud in the sky. Just so amazing for an early April game. That's just amazing heat. But it's going to cut down on some of the power. So we already discussed that pitchers aren't going to go as deep as normal, but they are going to kind of be aided by some of these cooler temperatures, even with the wind. I don't think the ball's going to carry as far as it will in, say, in LA. So, I mean, that might be a great hitting situation coming up.
Yeah, for sure. We could just turn towards the pitchers here. We're kind of while we're already talking about it.
Yeah.
But on DraftKings, that's typically where I play. I don't really play too much on FanDuel. But Shane Bieber at 8,300, he's the first guy that really stood out to me. I know he had some shoulder issues last season with his injuries, kind of cut his season a little short. But still 8.3K. He was close to 11,000 last season salary wise. His K rate is insane. He's going up against Kansas City, a team that, they don't strike out too terribly much, but they're still a bottom tier team in the entire league. So Bieber, I mean, even if he doesn't go super deep into this game, if he can get me 5 innings and 8 or 9 Ks, awesome. I mean, that's heavy on the strikeouts, but I think it's definitely possible. So Bieber's the first guy that's sticking out for me as far as DraftKings goes. What about FanDuel? What's his price on FanDuel over there?
Let's see here. I really didn't look because I locked in Burns, but on FanDuel,
that's right. I mean, yeah, like if you are playing FanDuel, like I would lock in Burns over Bieber.
He's 10-4, so he's about $800 less.
Okay. I mean, if there's not too much of a difference, like if you can get up to Burns, I would still take Burns with that high K upside. Chicago team, the Chicago team that strikes out a bit, cold temperatures. Yeah, I see. I wish Burns was on DraftKings. It would just make things so much easier. But alas, he's not. Who's your favorite pitcher outside of Bieber and Burns?
I think I like you Darvish here. Arizona, they did well during Cactus League, but then again, that's spring training is spring training. So, but their offense isn't the greatest. I mean, it is at Arizona, which sometimes has been like mini course, but it seems like it's with the humidor and everything that they had. I don't know if they're still using that, but it seems like it's backed off. I don't know if their roof's going to be open or closed. I know that's another factor for hitting there. But I think you Darvish can get out there and do well, get some Ks, and he's relatively expensive because he's the most expensive pitcher out there at 9.5. But we're not looking at any 10K pitchers tomorrow, so I think I can afford him, and I think he's a solid starting spot.
Yeah, for sure. I don't mind Darvish at all. Like you said, there's not pitching hasn't been priced up yet. I guarantee we're going to get there. Bieber's not going to be 8-3 long at all. But yeah, I don't mind Darvish there going up against that weak Arizona team. Probably going to be finishing last in the West there, or duking it out for last place with Colorado. But going in that mid tier, Adam Wainwright, he kind of sticks out for me. If they're he's facing Pittsburgh, a team who the owner has zero desire to win there. They're probably the worst team in baseball. Their offense is just very weak, and Wainwright, he's just a veteran who can just go deep into games. So at 7.5K, I don't mind him at all. Going up against just a weak Pittsburgh team. Pittsburgh is going to be a team that we're going to be picking on all season long, regardless of who the pitcher is on the other side. Obviously, there's going to be some exceptions, but for the most part, Pittsburgh is definitely one of those teams that we're going to be wanting to target for pitching.
Yeah, and I agree there. Wainwright doesn't have a ton of a K upside. No. Diego Castillo was red hot in spring training, though. He had like 5 home runs and 31 at bats, so hit 321. But other than that, the rest of the team, again, as we said, it's spring training, so can't really look at that. So, yeah, I think definitely Wainwright. They should be able to get the league against the Pittsburgh pitching, and he should his win upside is definitely pretty big there.
Yep, reliable. Yeah, not a high K upside, but I think he's reliable. He can get you a floor, and at 7.5K, if he can get you 15 points, it's all right. That's right. I think he can easily hit that for sure.
The only other guy I like, and I know you completely hate him, but just the only reason, I don't know if you hate him, but don't like him in this context, is I like Patrick Corbin because he did quite well in spring training. He gave up 0 runs. He had 10 strikeouts. He only pitched 2 games, but he had 9 innings. So, I mean, so both of them, he went pretty deep. Only gave up 6 hits. So I think, he's someone that I'm going to be looking at because the Mets lineup is getting better, but, they've had their issues hitting in the past too. And that's providing that the weather actually holds up and they can actually play the game. So it might be a mute point.
Exactly. Yeah, Corbin was a guy I targeted a lot last season. He just gave up a lot of home runs. So I like that power going up against him. But I mean, the Mets, they added Starling Marte. I think I saw something come along on one of the sports books saying that the Mets are currently the most bet team to win the World Series. I don't agree with it. I mean, DeGrom, Scherzer, it's New York Mets.
Can we do head-to-head bets on?
Buy their team, or fans are gonna buy their team. But I mean, adding Starling Marte, Francisco Lindor is obviously there, Pete Alonso, JD Davis. It's pretty decent down the lineup there, in my opinion. And I think, with how well some of these guys hit left-handed pitching, guys like Pete Alonso, he just absolutely mashes left-handed pitching. I kind of like the Mets as a stack. And I mean, we could just transition into batting here.
Well, before we do that, let's just
Yeah.
there's two pitchers that I have concerns with. I would say
Okay.
that I'm concerned with Shohei Ohtani just because he's very cheap. He's 7K, but
Yep.
Houston does not strike out, and Houston's got a decent offense. So he'd be GPP only. I'd be kind of concerned with him,
Hmm.
and I just. I mean, there's a lot of guys you can probably cross off. Like Madison Bumgarner 10 years ago, we'd be locking him in, but
No.
now, no. Brubaker, good young guy, I believe, but no, Zach Greinke is not the same Zach Greinke he was before. So I think McGill, like
The
he's getting the
one
spot start for DeGrom there against a Washington team that's not great. So he might be sneaky.
McGill's got great upside. Like he had some solid starts last season. He's got that upside to him, but he can also absolutely do nothing for you. So he's a boomer bust guy. I wouldn't sleep too much on Greinke, and that's just kind of my own thing. Like the thing with Brubaker is he's going up against St. Louis, and Bumgarner, he's going up against San Diego. No, he is not going up against San Diego. No, he is going up against San Diego. But the thing with Greinke, I mean, he's not facing those elite offenses. He's facing Cleveland. I mean, they got Jose Ramirez and Franmil Reyes. But outside of that, I mean, look at their lineup. Are they really scaring you too much? Stephen Kwan, Yu Chang, Andres Jimenez, Austin Hedges. Not too scary. I mean, if Greinke can go out at that price, get me 12 DK, 10 DK, I don't think it's out of the question. His matchup's just better. I'm not saying he's a good spot play here, but I would trust him. Trust is the wrong word. I would play him over Bumgarner for sure, or Brubaker.
I know you're like not too keen on the bottom of this Cleveland lineup, but in 30 at bats in spring training, Kwan had 0 strikeouts and Jimenez only had 1. They had a bunch of home runs together. Kwan hit 429 and Jimenez hit 429 also. So, I mean, I think there's
There you
some
go.
potential there. And even the other guys, the Ks weren't that much. There were only 8. So you got Straw leading off. I mean, this could be, I'm not saying for this slate, and maybe in a GPP, it's something to look at, but I think there might be some potential with Cleveland. I don't think they're going to be as bad as we think they are. I think they might have some nice pieces in the right context.
Yep, for sure. All right.
Who do you
Don't
like?
mind.
Who's your number one stack tomorrow?
Who's my number one stack for tomorrow? It's probably going to be San Diego, going up against Bumgarner and Arizona. I just like the weather. It just favors that game a lot. I would rather guys be playing in some warmer weather rather than the rainy 50-degree day that seems like all the other games are going to have. And just the amount of righties that they kind of have in their lineup. I mean, you can kind of make a mini stack kind of with their 2, 4, 5 hitters possibly with Machado, Voit, and Will Myers. I don't mind them, and their salaries, I think, is one thing that you have to be paying attention to. Obviously, St. Louis is going to be, they're close to one of the highest run totals, with Brubaker and then that terrible Pittsburgh bullpen. But the salaries on St. Louis make it like almost impossible to play them. Goldschmidt 5.3, O'Neill 5.6, Arenado 5.9, Edman 5.8. You got guys that are all
he's more expensive than Zach Greinke.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. They're more expensive than Zach Greinke. So like it just makes it almost impossible to do anything with St. Louis outside of maybe like a one-off. But on the San Diego side, Manny Machado, he's the only guy over 4.2K. And, quick scroll through, I think they got the highest run total or implied run total on the entire slate. So San Diego is by far my number one stack that I'm going to be targeting tomorrow. What about you? Who's your number one?
That's
not San Diego.
No, I like San Diego. I'll be playing some of them. I like Atlanta because Molly, he's a reverse splits guy, I believe, from last year. So I like some of the righties. The only problem is probably one of the premier righties was horrible in preseason in Ozuna. So, it's like that's where I really run into things. But you got a pretty good stack there with like Albies and Riley and Adam Duvall, like even dripping down to like the sixth. I think, I don't know if I'll take like Rosario up top, but I think they're a decent stack there and could be quite surprising. And then sticking with the nice weather, like the Angels, I know you can't play Ohtani because he's DHing, but you've got some nice pieces on their team too. I think Trout's gonna. I think he's finally healthy, and hopefully, he has a good season. It's just one of the best players in baseball. He's kind of like Aaron Judge and some of the other ones. They just can't stay healthy. But with Rodon there, Stassi, even like Adele, like can steal some bases for you there. March, he's probably maybe batting like sixth or seventh. He's only like 2.2. Some savings.
Yep. Yeah. The one concern I would have with Angels is just going up against Valdez, a heavy ground ball pitcher. But like you said, I mean, the talent is definitely there for LA. I'm right there with you. I don't mind them. It's kind of a way to get contrarian. But like you said, can they stay healthy as a team? Obviously, it's a one-day slate, so I think they can stay healthy for one day. But man, injuries and the LA Angels, it just goes hand in hand.
Not as bad as the Mets, though. The Mets needed to fire their trainer last year. They had so many people on IL. It was crazy. But so anybody else you're looking at tomorrow?
The Mets actually. They've kind of I mean,
sorry,
kind of covered like all,
but
all
it's day one, so you have them all except for DeGrom.
Exactly, and Scherzer, but Scherzer could probably go the next game, second game. So
he said in the New York Post that he'll be ready to go. So,
oh, perfect. There you go. But yeah, I like the addition of Starling Marte to this lineup. Mets were pretty decent on offense. People kind of forget that. Brandon Nimmo, we'll have to see if he's going to be available. I think I saw he was like battling an injury or got something done. But check to see that Nimmo's in there. Obviously, lefty isn't ideal, but he can steal some bases for you if you need. But then you got Marte, Lindor, Alonso, JD Davis, Eduardo Escobar. I don't mind him. It's just kind of a pivot there. Marcana. I mean, I like the Mets. What can I say?
Where was
Pete
Marte
Alonso
last year? Was he on? Huh? Was he Marlin or was he Arizona or
Arizona?
Okay.
Oh man, I'm blanking. Can't put that pressure on me.
I'm sorry. I can't remember myself.
I'm still in hockey mode. Like, ask me anything about hockey, and like, boom, right there with you.
I ask you about hockey. Well, I played Tierce, and commonly there was this guy called Correlate. Like, what team did he play for?
Who?
Correlate.
Correlate. Oh yeah, he's a popular guy in DFS.
Yeah, it was funny. It took me like a while to figure out what that meant.
Oh my god!
I thought he was some Canadian
guy. Popular guy in DFS. But okay, back to the slate here. Pete Alonso, first baseman, absolutely mashes left-handed pitching. So I would kind of start my stack with him, and then probably add in Marte, and maybe even JD Davis, who at only 2.6K, super cheap there. I think one of the big question marks tomorrow is going to be kind of what you do at first base, because there's a lot of studs at first base in good spots, but there's also a cheap play in a great spot. You got Pete Alonso, 4.8K. You got Matt Olson for Atlanta. He's 5'7". It's a bit extreme, but I kind of like Luke Voigt. I mentioned him earlier for San Diego. Only 3.5K, kind of batting rate in that heart of the order of that San Diego Padres team. Gets that nice platoon split against Bumgarner. But yeah, I think first baseman is going to be kind of a big spot and kind of what you're going to do there. First and third, I'll I'll say third baseman as well. You got Machado there, but there are a couple guys, as I was kind of doing some dummy builds tonight, and I was like, I wish I could have some more than one third baseman, we'll say, on this slate. But
Yeah, and this is only a 6-gamer. Imagine like those slates where like every single game is playing, and you throw in like Vlad Guerrero and some of these other, guys in the mix. It's just going to be a crazy year for making those choices. So
yeah, for sure.
so I think that kind of wraps things up. The one thing I'm still trying to figure out is I started almost 10 years ago now, stacking 2 teams every single day in DFS. And the first year I did it, I did Cleveland and I did the Angels. As you and Mike Trout was out, and I think like Malik Smith was leading off, and they blended perfectly. And I took down like 3 or 4 small GPPs because I just put it in like the dollar like every single day on FanDuel and DraftKings, and I won a couple grand just doing that. So last year I did Boston, San Francisco. It did quite well. It wasn't the greatest. So this year I'm trying to figure out, and I think I'm liking Kansas City because they've got some nice pieces. Yeah, and I might pair them with San Francisco again. I haven't quite figured out who. So I think in the first couple weeks, I'm going to experiment with teams, and probably around like right after Easter Sunday, which is like 1 week into the season, I'll probably figure out who's going to work the best, because you got to find like a lineup that has like 1 through 5 is mostly position players, and another one where 1 through 5 like you have a lot of outfielders, so like you can like mix and match, and when people have days off, you're not playing, and you got to find a catcher that hits like somewhat up in the order, and like Kansas City has Perez at least, and the rookie that's taking over for San Francisco, I think it's Bart is his name. He's pretty decent too, and he should hopefully hit up in the order. So I'll have to let everybody know like how I make out with that, and
Sure.
look forward to try to figure out that magic again.
Yeah, I mean, I did not join you with that last season, but I know a couple of guys, or at least one guy in the Discord, mentioned that he was going to be interested in doing it. Matt Man, shout out to him.
End of the
I
show.
think he's going to be going with his Chicago White Sox. And you know what? I feel like if there was a team to do it, I would probably pick Chicago as well. I just love their upside. Eloy Jimenez, Moncada, Anderson right at the top there, Jose Abreu. I mean, they're loaded. I love Chicago. I think they're just a fantastic team.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of wraps things up here. So we'll be bringing you videos throughout the season. We're not positive, we're working on some other projects too. Between I've got NASCAR, McKinley still has NHL a little bit longer, so we'll try to get out videos as much as we can for you guys to help you out. So I think some of the feedback that you can give us is like, what days would really help you the most for videos? Is it like the days like Saturday early slates and like Sunday slates when you don't get coverage from some of the other outlets out there that cover MLB for DFS, or is it like a certain day of the week, like you want help with like the larger slates, you want help with like when you have like split slates, and again when some people don't cover one of them. So if you just drop that in the comment below, if you watched last year, what were the videos that help, because we want to focus on our efforts. I'm not trying to crank out like videos every single day just to do it, but we want to make sure that we target our work to be able to help you the most in the time where you really feel like, man, I wish there was a video out there to help me with this slate.
I mean, I'll just add one quick thing here. I do want to continue on with the early slates. The early slates were very popular last season. I think it's just because nobody else really provided those videos or that insight. So I would like to continue with the early slate videos. Obviously, if it's just like a 2-gamer, we're not going to put a video out. I can't remember what the threshold was last season. I think it might have been 4 games was like the thing, maybe 3.
That sounds about good. Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely one thing I want to do is continue on with the early slate videos, just because it doesn't seem like there is really much out there for them. So yeah, so whatever we can do to help you guys, please let us know. So we want to help out.
Yep. So if you're interested in more about FSIDFS, if you just check the bio below, all the links to our Discord and to our website will be down there, and you can check out our season-long package for Major League Baseball. We provide cores for the main slates, and if it's a large enough, like small early slate, we'll do that too. Mostly cover DK. We do the showdown, so we'll give you at least 3 players there to help you out with that, and we do the tiers also. So had a lot of fun last year doing these videos, met a lot of people, really built a nice community in our Discord. Looking forward to some of those guys returning and some new faces too. So appreciate you watching this, and give us some comments, and we're here to help. You can hit me up at Twitter at MegaRuler31, and you can hit McKinley at
McKinley_412.
Okay, let's grill some hot dogs and grab some Cracker Jacks and hope for a great baseball season. So good luck to you guys tomorrow in your slates, and good luck this season.